Hi, for this latest episode of TWC Soundbites, I'm delighted that I've been joined today by Chief Executive of the Scottish Wholesale Association, Colin Smith. Colin, hi.
Daniel, hi.
Thank you so much for doing this. So I'm going to dive straight in. Through this series of sound bites, we've been hearing about all of the different types of wholesalers who have had to pivot their businesses overnight. And we're hearing some fantastic stories, but I am mindful that there are many that have not been quite so fortunate. Clearly in your position as an industry body, you're seeing the full gamut of what's been going on. So could you paint a picture for us of what you've seen in terms of those that have pivoted fast and those that have really struggled?
Yeah, sure. I mean, certainly this pandemic's challenged the wholesale sector as it has many or all industries. We, from the word go, basically, we're there to protect our members. The association looked at what we do and what we didn't need to do. We stopped a lot of the activities to purely focus on survival, so enabling our wholesalers to survive through this and championing them within the face of government. We initially did a survey of our membership to see what the challenges were, and it was clear overnight that 50% of our membership, those predominantly servicing food service, had seen an 81% decline in their sales. Clearly that isn't good for any business and is not sustainable. So quite remarkably, actually, overnight, many of the businesses remodeled to start and look at what they could do differently to remain open, so they weren't having to close and rely on necessarily government funding, which we didn't know was necessarily going to be forthcoming, and in many ways it still isn't. So many of them have gone through changing the business from business to B2B to a B2C model, so selling direct to the consumer, opening their premises to the public, using online delivery services, using even third-party delivery services to do that for them. But going from an 80% drop in sales to an online is not brought that back up to anywhere near viable. And indeed, that online business is maybe only 1 to 2% of sales. So longer term, this isn't going to be a model that the wholesale channel will continue. I don't believe, or certainly our members have said that this is about turning over current stock that's going to be sitting there, potentially going out of date and wasted, which we don't want. And equally, it's to keep money coming in to pay the fixed overheads. We've still got buildings, vehicles, and keep some staff in employment. I think the critical point for us, though, through that survey is that initially, when we did it, that would be 6 weeks ago now, members, 20% of the membership were saying that they only had maybe 2 to 3 weeks cash flow before they became cash critical. 9 to 12 weeks. We're now going into week 10. Those businesses, luckily, that only had maybe 2 to 3 weeks cash flow, have done enough to sustain the cash coming into the business. There is nobody yet closed, but we are now at a precipice that, if we don't start to see businesses open and some normality come back to the market, or we don't get funding from governments, then we are going to see casualties, I believe, and I don't want to see that. As an association. We are there for the industry, we are there for all our members, and when this started, we said, look, it doesn't matter who our member is, everyone's important, large or small, national or family orientated, and indeed we went out into the marketplace, and there was members out there, wholesale distributors that weren't members of the association, and said, look, come in, we are your voice in the face of government, in the face of the trade and industry. Come in and we will defend you the same, or fight for you in the same way as we do everyone else that's already a member. So we can now go out when we're talking to Scottish Government, and we can authoritatively say we are talking for the whole of the Scottish wholesale food and drink industry. If by chance we miss somebody, by all means come and speak to me. You're more than welcome to join us. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. You've sort of alluded, so I'm guessing your answer to the next question. I've seen in the trade press that you have successfully lobbied government and that there is funding in Scotland that I don't believe we have the same access to down here. But do you feel government gets it? Do they understand? Is there more to be done?
Well, there's certainly a lot more to be done, especially for the long term. Do they get it? They certainly get it now better than they did 9 weeks ago. But I think the association, we were in a fortunate position. We already had dealings with Scottish Government. We had already been actively involved in several lobbying pieces, deposit return scheme being one, workplace parking levy. We're involved in the non-domestic rates bill changes that we're looking at. And indeed, we sit on the Scottish food tourism strategy, which is government funded or government backed. So we already had a bit of a relationship, and that allowed us to do a lot more than we had been, and open a lot more of the doors that we needed opened. So now we have direct access to key MSPs, key policymakers, and certainly Fergus Ewing, as we've been in daily contact at the start with him and his team, and continue to do so. And it's certainly been him that's been championing our sector, looking after the rural economy and food and drink. Obviously, this is, our survival, wholesale survival, is pivotal to Ambition 2030 that we help. And our wholesalers are the ones that are the wheels to the food and drink industry, are taking local producers and manufacturers' goods to the local market and then regional and national markets. So I think that there was always an understanding of what we did, but never more so has it become more apparent than the local convenience store has not got the supplies that they once had. The care homes are potentially in jeopardy of not getting the supplies if the wholesaler goes out of business. Likewise, the NHS, the prisons, these are all sectors that the wholesaler supply. And maybe once where there was a focus on nationals and supermarkets and multiples, that they were the bread and butter to the food and drink industry. I think there's now a better understanding that there's a whole middle supply chain called wholesalers, £2.9 billion industry is in Scotland, and that's from our members. So if we don't look after the wholesalers and the Scottish Government and industry and even the suppliers, if they don't understand wholesale and our channel as a route to market, then we aren't going to come out of this pandemic, certainly not any stronger, but it will certainly be a lot weaker. And through the links with Scottish Government now, we have been invited to feed into the Scottish Government's advisory group, who have been set up to look at the economic recovery of Scotland. We've got a call set up with them at the end of this week for members to help feed into. Our survey that we've just launched yesterday, part of that will also feed into it. So our members can really get a direct access to key decision makers and policy makers within Scottish Government through us. And we are hands-on. We are there taking each individual member, if needs be, to these people. So I think, do they understand? Yes, they understand. But there's a lot more that we need to be doing, and a lot more that our members need to be doing with us and communicating with us, to have their voice heard.
You and I have talked off camera about the challenges that wholesalers are going to face sort of as we look forward, and it feels like, and I think we're going to cover this, but the country's as a whole is moving at different rates coming out of furlough, and that brings with it a myriad different problems. Can you share some of your hopes and fears for the sector and for the Scottish wholesale sector through this process as we look forward through the next sort of 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest concerns is the rates at which UK are moving to Scotland, or UK, the speed at which Scotland are moving versus the UK. It was a four-nation approach to this. We are now clearly moving at different levels. As Boris Johnson has now alluded that retail is going to be opening as of next week. Certainly the Scottish Government are weeks behind on that. And the concern actually is on the support that our members will need, and other industry, especially if a furlough gets changed. I mean, obviously it's been mentioned that furlough will change as of August, with potentially up to 25% of the salary needing to come from the employer. Now, if we were even just 2 weeks behind UK government, we are potentially still in lockdown, but then having to potentially pay 25% of our furloughed staff's salary. Now, if we've got no cash coming in because the hospitality leisure market is still closed, that is potentially going to be crippling. Even for 2 weeks, cash flow, additional cash flow on top of those fixed overheads we talked of previously. And if we don't have the support, now we've obviously been lucky that we have had some government support for wholesalers, something that we fought hard for. But there's still members out there that haven't received that, and will continue to fight for those individual cases. But even the larger members won't have received any support. Not even the rates relief, which is a huge anomaly. I would say that the retail industries had it, food service, hospitality market that we supply have had it, but the people that supply those industries haven't. So all these costs add up, and if we're coming out at different times, the furlough is one thing, but equally that how the markets reopen is also fundamental to our membership. It's all very well saying, right, okay, the drive-throughs are starting to open, the wee cafes might come and open, or the national chains. Well, that's not going to help the majority of our members because they don't supply necessarily those national chains. The big one is when the actual pubs, restaurants, clubs, the hotels, bed and breakfast, when they open, and that's, we're looking at phase 3 going into phase 4 in Scotland, and they aren't all going to open. Potentially, 30,000 pubs across the UK might not open at all. We certainly know some B&B and hotels won't, but even when they do start and open, they're not all going to open overnight. And the concern is that they'll open gradually, and that potentially there's going to be Armageddon, because we've got all of the wholesale members still open and trading, thankfully, but they're going to want trade, and they are all going to want to try and grow their business as quickly as possible. But there's not going to be a big pie, it's a small pie, so they're going to be all fighting for this small pie. And then it becomes, well, is it going to be a race to the bottom again? And it's going to be the cheapest operator wins. There's going to be a lot of bad debt out there. That a wholesaler that used to supply restaurant A might not want to supply that restaurant anymore, so another wholesaler will take on that risk. So at the moment, there's a bit of a calm that people are trading, just in some cases, but then when we start to come out of that, that is potentially when we could see, real difficulties in trading, and risk being taken that shouldn't ordinarily be taken.
Yeah, survival of it's not even the fittest, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Darwinism at work.
Yeah.
So in the middle of all of this, you've also been contending with the deposit return scheme. And forgive me for this because I'm not close enough to it, but it feels to me like Scotland is once again leading the way on something. But I've seen in the trade press that you have been lobbying for it to be held off for now, I think. For those of us like me who are not so close to this, could you bring us up to speed with where you guys are at with this and what the implications are?
It's not something I can necessarily put succinctly, but certainly we are the first in the UK to go ahead with a deposit return scheme, similar to in Europe and other countries. 20 pence will be applied to every beverage container. That will go all the way through the supply chain from manufacturer to consumer. Now, the reason that we have been asking for it to be postponed isn't just, you know, the excuse of COVID and this pandemic and businesses already, you know, feeling the crunch. The real reason that we have asked for it to be postponed is because industry that were involved in it, including ourselves and devising and helping formulate how this would work operationally, have said that the original year wasn't going to be feasible. We asked for 2 years. That was pre-COVID-19. So we're now in a crisis, pandemic. Those timelines were based on no pandemic. We had said 2 years we need to make this operational. So we can't really make it operational until we've come out of the other end of this pandemic. And secondly, as an evidence-based legislation or policy, the fundamentals on which this was built on, the business case, business regulatory impact assessment, all those sums, figures will have changed after or as a result of COVID-19. The distribution points, the amount of return points, the amount of containers, the fundamental piece of DRS will have changed. And so I think it's only right that we at least pause it. Don't stop it, just pause it until we know exactly what the new world is going to look like. And we can reassess whether it's feasible in its current format or it needs tweaked and changed.
So you've certainly had lots on your plate in your role at the moment. In terms of what you need from the membership, because I guess SWA thrives and prospers through its members, how can the members help you to be able to be effective?
Well, we are a membership association, so without the members, we wouldn't be here. And certainly, I think it's shown what we have done with government and fighting the cause is because members have engaged with us, and that is fundamental. They need to be talking to us. They need to be telling us the challenges, where we can be assisting and helping. You know, and it goes back to, I guess, the 3 principles that we're, you know, our foundations are built on. That is collaboration, consultation, communication. You know, if they can do all of these things with us, then we will be a much stronger association, collectively and individually for that member. I guess I was looking at your background there, TWC. You know, we make your data sing. Well, we won't make your data sing, but I think we will take it. You know, we'll fashion it into a bullet, and we'll make sure that we fire it at the right target, and that, you know, we need to be firing at. And I think certainly the last 8-9 weeks has been a testament to that. So please just keep sharing the data, keep getting involved with us, and complete that survey that we just sent out yesterday.
Data's vital.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So to end on I guess a positive, we started with the challenges, but what is some of the good stuff that you've seen across the sector through this crisis?
Well, I think it just goes back to the first point, that we've gone into this unprecedented challenge at a pace that nobody has ever had to cope with. But what we've seen is that true grit and determination of businesses that want to survive, and that's what we're doing. We're only surviving, and they've remodeled and they've kept the wheels to the food and drink industry moving. That we've continued to supply the local communities that we operate in. With the breaks in the bid food have continued to service the vulnerable and the shielded. I think nobody can underestimate what we have all achieved in such a short space of time, and even government, have changed the way that they've worked, and things that nobody would have thought possible going into this are now possible. And I think that that's what we take out the other end. That let's not actually think that it's impossible, because the impossible is possible. And that just take that sense of community that we've now garnered and use the workings of the last 8 weeks, what we've learned, the technology that we're now using to run our business, the communication channels such as we're using now to interact with our customers even, and even direct to the consumer. You know, I think, you know, it is very difficult. You know, the challenge has not gone away, but I think there is strength in this sector, and you know, I think that is a key point, that there has never been a stronger time for wholesale, and the opportunities for our industry are immense, because it is us that, remember, are delivering to all these vital services, public sectors, the convenience store, and it is us that will be relied upon to ensure that, you know, the pubs, clubs, hospitality market, leisure industry open again, and open successfully.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's to that happening soon, please. So thank you so much, Colin. Please continue to stay safe. And I really appreciate the time you've given me. And it was great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.